Okay, just a few things about this, and I want to share something about tools, and I'm going to take you kind of through the process as I'm going along with carving this guy, the ARK. First of all, you can see that I went ahead and I carved out some of the wood from the top of the roof to the boat itself, and I used one of these gouges. Now let me explain what these are. These are gouges that I bought in Holland back in '87, believe it or not. And I went over to visit my aunt and uncle and my family over in Holland, and one thing was I wanted wood carving tools. These today cost anywhere from $15 to $30 a piece. I bought these for $3 a piece because our money was worth a lot more back then. And I went to a shop and I got a bunch of gouges. Now, can you imagine today going through customs and through the airport with nothing but gouges and knives in your suitcase, including I had a shovel, a special type of shovel for my mother as a gardener, and I went through the airport with that. Amazing how times have changed. But anyway, these are expensive, and if you're a beginner, I will tell you, I didn't want to show how to do this online because it was way too big, but I gouged it out. I'll explain how I did. I gouged all this out. Now when you gouge, you should be holding your clamping it down, holding it. This will kind of hold it back and give it some control. Some people are better at using gouges, and I will say I had fun doing this. It was something I hadn't done for a while. And then I put the picture of the windows, and you can see there's a cross. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my smaller gouges. I have a bunch of different gouges. I have the micro gouges, and I have a few of the other palm gouges that I've had for years, and I'll be able to get in there with a skew, which is just a slanted, flat but slanted, that you can get into the corners and such. There are hundreds and hundreds of different sizes of gouges, and the depth of the gouge itself. I mean, there's so many things and so many tools you can buy online. Hundreds of these different ones that you can get. You know, I can get them just a little bit wider, a little bit more deeper, or longer, or with a curve, or with straight. There's hundreds of different ones, and it can be very, very costly. Now, in Europe, I know they use a lot of these type of tools to do carvings for large pieces, and I can understand why. Some people use a mallet for it. I did not use a mallet. One thing you want to be careful with, you know, we talk about safety and we talk about thumb guards. That's not going to help you if you stab yourself with one of these. And some people have the habit of putting it on their lap and carving. I would not recommend that. Put it on a table, clamp it, and do it that way. I've had people hit their thighs and arteries and all kinds of stuff, horror stories of people using gouges and slipping into their hand because they're not careful, because if they're carving, they're doing this, you know, holding on to it and then trying to do it one-handed, and they slip and they go right into their hand. And if you have a carving glove on, folks, it isn't going to help you a whole lot. It might do a little less damage, but you are going to have a nightmare hitting yourself with one of these. I have been very fortunate. I have never really hurt myself with one of these because I don't do a lot of carving with one of these. My pleasure of carving is to do it with a knife and a couple of V-tools that are small enough that I can hold it in a camera, you know, in front of you. But be very careful using these. I don't talk a lot about these. In fact, these are so old and they've got some paint on them and all that. But these are the ones that I have, and I have probably about 10 or 15, maybe more. And then I have the other gouges, which are, if I can find the other one here. No, I don't have it here. The one I showed you earlier in the first piece, the smaller gouge. they work great for certain things as well. In fact, I have a smaller one here. See, you can buy these in a set if you want to. These are really handy because you can hold them in the palm of your hand and have some kind of control. But when you do this, a lot of times I'll hold my thumb ahead of it, you know, to protect it, or try to keep my hand out of the way in the back or so. It's a very, people handle these a little differently than you would a knife. A knife, I think, is safer to carve. For some people it is, some people it isn't. I'm not really set up here at the shop to use gouges. I should have a workbench that I can clamp it down and then work on it freehand, and that way if I slip I go right into the table, not into my hand or into a thigh or whatever. But please do not put this on your lap and do it. Even if you have a leather apron, depending how much force you put behind it, you want to be very, very careful. So this is the first stage, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the roof the way it is. I'm going to clean this up, the rough stuff at the top, and I'm going to just take care of the edge here so it looks like a plank. I'll do the same thing over on this side, all right? And then I'm going to cut out my windows. Now, how do I do it? I'll tell you how I do it. I take my knife and I kind of, the only word I can think of is to score everything. Take your knife and just go make your pattern, and then you take your knife and you go from point to point and put a stop cut everywhere, okay? On the top, on the side, across it. And then you take these little gouges, flat gouges, and you go back in here and you cut these out, all right? I can show you a little bit of this here. Okay, and then you take your time doing that, and then once you get that all kind of cut out a little lower, then you go ahead and put your cross portion in. In fact, I have this sticking out further than this, and then this will be your lowest point, are these ones behind the X. Okay, same thing over here. I hope you can see that. Let me bring that in a little closer so you can see it. There we go. I would go ahead and put my stop cuts in, okay, and then this in between the cross and the frame, right there, that little diamond or triangular shape, that will be your lowest point, all right, and that's what I'm going to do here while I'm offline. And then we'll worry about this section next. I'm not going to put those, I told you I was going to put these little slats in, but this is a nice contrast. That came from this tool, running it across, alright? You see it looks like wood grain going across, and I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Right here it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but you can do this and have some really neat effects just using your tools like I did down here. I used a flatter version down here versus what I used up here. So you want to just be very, very careful when you use these tools, folks. And I'll come back with another video of how I did the bottom. So the top, you want to slant this off. You want to gouge out about 1/4 of an inch down, the 3/8 inch or so. Put your windows in, put your stop cuts in, and I'll be back with another section of this as I go along here and try to complete it. All right, see ya. Bye bye.